Well, look at this. Liberal Jim Hickey ready to square off against NDP leader Jim Dinn in St. John's Centre. This is an article on CBC, Newfoundland and Labrador's website. And if we scroll down a little bit more, I'm going to see something that really angers me. Progressive Conservative candidate Ben Duggan is also vying for the seat. Duggan declined an interview request from CBC News. Duggan declined. That's not the double D I wanted to see today, Mr. Duggan. Oh my goodness. Hi everyone, I am Jennifer McCreath, and today is Monday, September 29th, 2025. And I have something to say about this. How do I start this? You just don't turn down media requests. Hello? Is anybody home? Think, McFly, think. St. John's Centre is one of 40 ridings. Every 4 years or whenever we have a provincial election, there are 40 seats up for grabs. And guess which one gets the most media attention? It's the downtown riding in our capital city, St. John's Centre. And do you know how hard it is to get media attention when you're a political candidate who's nobody ever has heard of? I have bashed politicians in the past for refusing to do interviews with CBC. Perhaps the most infamous in my life was 2013 when I ran for deputy mayor of the city of St. John's. My opponent, Mr. Ron Ellsworth, declined an opportunity to debate me one-on-one for an hour on CBC. And instead of CBC carrying on with the event, they cancelled it. So I mocked Mr. Ellsworth and I debated an empty chair instead. St. John's Centre is important. Hi Newfoundland, hi Labrador, hi everybody beyond the overpass. I know you're sick and tired that St. John's always gets all the attention, but we do have a huge chunk of the provincial population, and ultimately when it comes to 6 o'clock news, the goal is to get eyes on the news. And sometimes St. John's stories keep people interested and engaged. 4 years ago, we had a pre-match, since this is now the rematch, Jim Dinn against Gemma Hickey against a progressive conservative candidate at the time, Robin LeGros, who was a very well-known and respected community activist. Is also well-known, and for those of you that don't, I'm going to be open and honest, Jennifer McCreath and Gemma Hickey are like oil and water. I do not like Gemma Hickey. I cannot stand Gemma Hickey. And quite frankly, I can't stand our provincial Liberal government either. 4 years ago, I was so fired up. I wasn't going to run in the election. I just wanted to make sure that Gemma Hickey did not get elected. So I picked up the phone and I called the NDP and said, hello. Yeah, I was off work. I'd been laid off, and then we were in this messy CERB situation. So I was sitting at home looking for work with nothing to do. So I said, you know what, NDP, I got some time on my hands. I think I know a lot about the, the election. I'm tuned in, aware. And I said, if anything I can do to help make sure Jim Dinn gets re-elected, I will do it for you. And somehow it ended up me running as an NDP candidate in Mount Pearl North. That wasn't exactly what I had in mind, but I did that, and it was a bit of a disaster and a debacle, but that's a whole other video. So here I am 4 years later, and guess what? I want to make sure Jim Dinn defeats Gemma Hickey, right? However, I also want the Conservatives to win this election. I want the Liberals out of here. And I'm sorry, NDP, you don't have the power in your, repertoire? I don't know. It's quite clear to most of us that you're trying to get 2 people elected and you're focusing all your, well, maybe not all, but most of your efforts on Jim Dinn and Sheila O'Leary. And I do think Jim Dinn and Sheila O'Leary will win their seats. PCs. You got 40 names on the ballot. You have a chance to win this election. And you cannot make any mistakes here. Every seat is up for grabs and every seat is important. As great as Robin LeGros was as a candidate, she finished a distant 3rd. So what are you thinking putting a knob name on ballot? Who the hell is Ben Duggan? And why isn't he taking advantage of this interview opportunity? Are you legitimately telling us you do not want us to vote PC in St. John's Centre? If that's the case, why did you even run a candidate? You had an opportunity to run a very, very well-known, well-spoken, progressive person in that riding. Yes, someone I know very well reached out and said, I would be more than happy to be the PC candidate, and I can grill and take apart Jim Dinn and Gemma Hickey and do it in a nice way, as well as sell what I think is a really good PC platform. Yeah, it was me. I asked to be the candidate. But obviously they weren't, for whatever reason, and I understand it. I may not be everybody's cup of tea. But you put a knob on there. Sorry, Ben, you're a knob. Name on ballot. If you can't talk to the CBC, I can't endorse you, I can't support you. Unbelievable. I just don't know what to make of this. People mock the NDP for having knobs. And I gotta say, I'm impressed that the NDP ran 40 candidates in this election, because last election I think they had less than 25, if I'm correct. And a lot of knobs. Not necessarily bad knobs. People running for the NDP are good, capable, qualified people, and they probably all make great MHAs. But if they all live in St. John's and they're running in ridings all over the place, they're not going to be in the riding, they're not going to be campaigning. People are going to see through that stuff and they won't take you seriously. And I don't want to blame Ben Duggan if it's not his fault. Maybe the party's made this decision. You're going to be a knob. You're not going to do any media. You're not going to talk to anybody or say anything. I don't know this backstory. You're not going to get very many votes, Duggan. In PC, you just, in my opinion, threw away a seat that you could win. This is ridiculous. I'll be honest. I am now questioning whether or not to vote PC in my riding here in Mount Scio. Same situation. I'm not voting for someone, I'm voting against someone. I want the Liberals out. The Liberals, in my opinion, are out to get me. They, in my opinion, have prevented me from evolving and growing in my personal career, my business career, shall we say, here in Newfoundland and Labrador as a public servant. You all know the story. Several job competitions won, and I always end up not getting the job because I'm trans. I'm pretty sure that's it. Also, it's probably because I'm not a Liberal. If you look around the public service these days, 10 years of Liberal government, it's interesting to see how many known Liberal supporters have all the good jobs. So yeah, out you go, Liberals. That's my, either you go or I go. If the Liberals win a majority government, I will leave the province. Just putting that out there. I will leave. But yeah, who can beat Sarah Stoodley in Mount Scio? Is it the PCs or is it the NDP? Both have excellent candidates. Daryl Hines, PC. Laura Bell Mabah, I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. Both amazing, excellent people, great candidates. Ultimately, I'm going to vote for the one that I think has the best chance of getting more votes than Sarah Stoodley, and I know that's a terrible reason to vote, but it is what it is. But now I don't feel so bad telling the world to vote for Jim Dinn in St. John's Centre, because it's Jim Dinn against the Liberals. And it's also Jim Dinn, a compassionate former teacher, experienced politician who's done a lot of great things and shows up to a lot of great events and organizations that the other parties never seem to give two shits about. Or you could have, in my opinion, the most arrogant, selfish member of our LGBTQ community. So yeah, the choice is obviously yours, but this is very, very, very bad optics for a party that wants to form government. Shame on the PC party, shame on Ben Duggan, and I gotta answer the phone.